Thank you very much, Dr. Šimečko, Minister of Defense, for your nation hosting and supporting this year's NATO Transformation Seminar in this beautiful city of Budapest. It is also my great pleasure and honor to acknowledge the presence of our Deputy Secretary General, the Honorable Mrs. Rose Gottemöller, the permanent representatives, the Chairman of the Military Committee, General Peter Pavel, the Chief of Defense Staff of Hungary, and the military representative, together with European and North American thought leaders, academics, and representatives from industry. My special appreciation goes to the International Institute for Strategic Studies for co-organizing this event with the Light Command Transformation, as well as to the moderators and panelists who will guide the discussions and foster debate to fruitful outcomes to support the Alliance's transformation agenda. Just 10 days ago, we celebrated the 18th anniversary of Hungary's accession to NATO, 12 March 1999, together with the Czech Republic and Poland. It was the fourth enlargement of the alliance and highly symbolic. I was reminded of the words of the then Hungarian Foreign Minister, János Martonyi, who said, "It has been our manifest destiny to rejoin those with whom we share the same values, interests, and goals." And this couldn't be more true today with Hungary hosting the Alliance's political and military leadership for the NATO Transformation Seminar 2017. Yes, the NATO Transformation Seminar comes at a crucial moment in time. We need to use this unique opportunity to hold candid discussions about the range of actions that could be taken to bridge post-summit delivery and the preparation of the future in the context of a challenging and rapidly changing security environment. The Alliance must discuss strategic perspectives on tactical and military transformation with a key question in mind. How can we continuously improve NATO's military posture to tackle today's challenges and those of the foreseeable future? The Euro-Atlantic area faces an unprecedented range of threats. The emergence or resurgence of state actors as potential peer competitors, coupled with an expanded terrorism and persistent transnational risks such as organized crime, climate change, or economic instability, all contribute to the complexity of the global environment. How we identify and address these challenges will require extended awareness and extensive cooperation, often well beyond the Euro-Atlantic area, especially because the same actors are involved in multiple, increasingly interrelated crises or conflict, whilst the lines between peacetime, crisis, and conflict are progressively blurred. In this context, no single nation or organization can on its own simultaneously address all threats and challenges. It requires a permanent adaptation to continue to operate while simultaneously coping with this new and rapidly evolving 21st century complex environment. Before defining how to transform the Alliance's posture, we have to understand this environment and its complexity, and this will be the topic for the first panel. It is important to recognize that the civilian world has outpaced us in developing solutions to adapt to the same environment. We may have different objectives, but we have much to gain from analyzing and understanding the key principles they have developed to deal with the complexity of the 21st century. Here is the key question then. What are the principles that should guide and drive innovation to make our posture more responsive and adaptable to all the challenges we face today and to be prepared for those of the foreseeable future? How can we operate and adapt simultaneously? Organizations, structures, and companies in the civilian world face the same kind of challenges in their own fields. There are many examples of commercial companies that have very successfully maintained their daily businesses while continuously adapting to a new environment that is constantly challenging them. Google, Uber, or Airbnb are well-known examples. They have established new standards to connect to external resources and federate many different actors through very agile architectures. And as many innovative startups, they manage their business in a highly competitive and volatile market focused on the users. They allocate important resources to preparing the future and future options as their activities constantly evolve and new technologies become available. Here are the key principles they have developed for innovation. They must rely on organizations that are flexible by design to face the complexity of our world. They do not have to own everything, but access to key partners relies on the dynamism of the networks they have created. They must be strategically aware of the permanent evolution of the global landscape and understand them. They must be resilient because they recognize that they will be surprised. In a high technological environment, human capital is key. Their main strategic resource is data and the ways to collect, concentrate, exploit, and distribute them. And they can change their structures, but data remain core to their business and drive their organization. And these principles allow them to adapt faster than their competitors. In the same complex global environment, their aims are certainly different from ours, but these same principles apply to our own effort to adapt. In fact, unsurprisingly, you will find the same principles laid out in the framework for future alliance operations and in the NATO command structure functional assessment. It will be interesting to see how panels 2 and 3 analyze the impact of these principles of the work related to projecting stability and to defense and deterrence. This will also continue to guide the ongoing work on the NATO command structure. Sorry. There is indeed a need to define an approach that enables flexible responses in an environment characterized by uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity, while the distinction between peace, crisis, and conflict is increasingly blurred and the risk of rapid transition is constant. Following the aforementioned principles, our adaptation should address what should be the core of the NATO command structure and the link that we should establish between the NATO command structure, the NATO force structure, nations, and other actors such as partner nations or international organizations. This network would enhance early warning, strategic awareness, and understanding gained through continuous, diverse, and comprehensive contributions. Here also, data is a strategic resource, and the way it is permanently shared, collected, exploited, and redistributed through a scalable and agile command and control structure would drive our operational architectures. Leveraging the expertise that exists in our nations and building a flexible by design structure would optimize all alliance capabilities and capacities to accomplish NATO's core task while accelerating speed of adaptation. This federated approach is not entirely new or a radical change. It is already applied in varying degrees across several ongoing functions and work strands, for example, in strategic awareness, in air command and control, in special operations. But the new security environment requires it to be persistent. Persistence means daily, routine, even habitual effort, building enduring relationship, interoperability, and trust. Such a persistent interaction would also increase NATO's and nations' resilience. A persistent federated approach would strengthen NATO's defense and deterrence posture by federating the expertise and capabilities of all NATO nations. It would also support our effort to project stability by expanding this federation to a larger number of actors. A wide range of domains, such as cyber, maritime, logistics, or training and exercise, to name just a few, would also benefit from this approach. This requires a policy decision to regenerate linkages between the alliance and its members, but also to adapt them for the new and more complex security landscape. I expect the political-military implication to be addressed in the fourth panel. I look forward to the discussions in our different panels that are an ideal mix of strategic, political, civilian, and military expertise. Through the outcomes of these discussions, we should seize the opportunity to propose initiatives to support our work strengths in the adaptation of the alliance's posture. Yesterday's Young Professionals Day was already an excellent start to directly engage with a new generation of future leaders and strategic thinkers. To conclude, by implementing the Warsaw Summit decisions, NATO is demonstrating its willingness to tackle the challenges associated with our evolving security environment. It is to make us more adaptive that I offer these new ideas to federate permanently the capacities of a wide range of actors and nations in a more organic and dynamic relationship with the NATO command structure. Before giving the floor to the next panel, I would like to quote one of my most illustrious predecessors, now the US Secretary of Defense, James Mattis. In 2009, he put forward the Multiple Futures Project concept. I encourage you all to read this document, as a solid foundation for much of our strategic planning. In this document of remarkable foresight, you will recognize many of the principles for adapting our posture I've mentioned today, as this quote illustrates. Because of the broad range of tasks we are expected to fulfill and the adaptive nature of potential adversaries, the military posture of nations must not be geared to a single preclusive vision of war. The alliance will have to adapt its structures to address the emerging security challenges. Appropriate command and balanced force structures are required. We must prepare forces for more decentralized operations, and we need to adapt command structures that can properly conduct complex operations, including working with partner nations, integrating with international organizations, and supporting civilian authorities. The alliance, to keep its edge now and in the foreseeable future, has to operate and adapt simultaneously. This is how we continue to improve today, we shape tomorrow, and how we bridge the two and federate the efforts of a wide range of actors and NATO nations in order to build a more robust defense and deterrence posture and project stability. Thank you very much.